Welcome to QA40xPlot. I'm going to do a very quick overview of how to run the program and what's within it, but go to the wiki and there are lots more detailed videos on how to run different tests and how to do things like move graphs around. But to start off with, when you run QA40xPlot, it will come up, it will tell you its version and what configuration is your default. Currently, I don't have one, so it's using the factory default configuration. But let me get into a little bit more about the product. So it's free and open source. It works with the Quantasylum QA402 and 403 audio analyzers and produces industry standard output charts and ways to test your audio equipment. There are a bunch of comprehensive tests: harmonic distortion, intermod distortion, there's an oscilloscope, there are graphs for THD versus frequency and amplitude, and etc. Bunches of different tests. And the technology is current. It runs under C# and Windows Presentation Foundation under Windows 10 and 11 only. And it has a very simple installer that automatically updates the application when updates are found. On GitHub, there's a full open source repository of all of the source code. Okay, so that's it for the program. All right. Now, within QA40xPlot are a bunch of tests, and the easy way to see them is click page, and it will list the various pages. These are all different tests, and then there's settings, and frequency response is special, but let's walk through them. This is the spectrum test, and like most of the tests, this side are settings for how the test runs. This side are settings for how the test looks, in other words, how the chart is drawn. So to run the test, you can ignore most of the settings for now, and I'll just go ahead and run. And this will do a sine wave at 1 kHz and 1/10 of a volt, and then display the spectrum coming into here, the left and the right channels. Okay, when I click stop, it stops running. All right, this is an intermodulation distortion test with a bunch of different types of industry standards or your own intermodulation. This is the oscilloscope. So if I click start, it will do a single run and we will see the time output. Here at the bottom is in milliseconds. Here's the voltage. If we fit, here's ignore the waveform for a moment. I have this connected to something funny for testing. There is also distortion versus frequency, distortion versus voltage, or amplitude, since it supports power. And then the frequency response test page actually has 4 different tests, including, for example, impedance. And I currently have my tester connected to an LC parallel circuit. And if I run this real quickly, we'll see that. It'll show phase and impedance. And here we are. The impedance goes up to 40 ohms at the tuning point for the circuit. And here's the phase chart. And you can see this if I move the phase chart up and down, or if I change the scale here. All right, so those are the various tests. And then on the very end of this, we have settings. And if you click that, we see a bunch of app-specific settings, such as theme. So if you'd prefer to have it run dark mode, you can do that. And then when you're all happy with the way the program looks and you want it to keep track of all of your settings, you can save your configuration, or you can load a configuration for certain kinds of tests. And you can also save your configuration as default, so it will come up looking the same every time. So for example, I have a dark configuration that I've saved as something to show. And here we are. All right, That's the quick demonstration.